Hey guys, Anthony Anderson here. So I just wanted to share in this video something that I found to be, I think, pretty exciting to high net worth individuals and successful business owners. And I'm going to contrast it with this behind me, which is really what I refer to as kind of the outdated client service model. And on the next page, I have a value proposition or a model that I think really speaks to the frustrations that these clients have with this outdated service model. But I want to just quickly tell you the story that I had a situation come up a couple years ago, and I think it highlights the issues with this model behind me. It was with a buddy of mine named Chad, and we're meeting for happy hour. It was after work, I forget the day, but his phone's going off. You know, we're having drinks, and he's got emails and phone calls and text messages, and he finally just says, "Dude, I'm so frustrated at all of this communication I'm getting. Like my CPA reached out to me yesterday, my advisor, my insurance guy today, my attorney this afternoon." And I said, "Well, what do they all want?" He said, "Last week I sold this property, and now everybody has their opinion on like what I need to be doing, what they want from me, what I should be worried about." And so I kind of asked him, does this happen often? He said, like every quarter or when I sell a property or two, like all of this noise and nonsense starts. I said, what if you talked to all of them and you said, this isn't working for me. I'd like to try something actually a little bit new. I'd like all of you to communicate. Like all of you get on a Zoom meeting and have an open dialogue about what you're calling me about or emailing me about right now. Like you guys discuss it amongst yourselves. I'd like to designate my CPA, who statistically is in line with I trust the most, right? That's what the majority of small business owners or high net worth individuals will say is they trust their CPA the most. So I'm saying to my friend, like you could designate your CPA to be the point of contact for you. The CPA and all of your other advisors communicate openly. They bring all of their ideas to the table, and then the CPA and you sit down and you analyze the different options, and ultimately you make the decision that you think makes the most sense for you and your family. But rather than you having to deal with all of this communication separately, now it's going through one point of contact. My friend kind of sat back and he's like, can I do that? I said, of course you can make the request. Now, I don't know whether or not your different professionals are willing to play ball with that model, but that is a client service model that is growing in popularity primarily because it's being requested by the clients once they understand that's actually an option. And essentially what that is describing is the basis of a family office. Like again, if my friend had a $150 million net worth, he probably would hire all of these individuals to work just for his family. And then you have a true single family office, maybe a multi-family office, but he's not at that net worth. I mean, if I was to guess, it would be probably $10 to $15 million net worth. So he can't afford to hire all of these professionals to only work for his family. But that doesn't mean that they can't have that open dialogue of communication. Because what you see when you look at this model, right? Here's my buddy, the client, communicating directly with the CPA, communicating directly with the attorney, communicating with the advisor, the insurance agent, also his real estate agent and other professionals. But what you see is a lot of unleveraged time and resources. All of this is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then it depends on the client to actually decipher like all of the suggestions and provide all of the information. And it's just incredibly unleveraged. And that's why, a lot of times professionals will say like, well, I had such good advice, but it didn't get implemented. Yeah, no wonder, because it all depended on the client deciphering everything and then taking action. That's why you see these incredibly wealthy, like mega stars and musicians and athletes. You hear these stories where they die without an estate plan. It's because nobody is taking charge, and it's ultimately on the client's shoulders. The other thing you see is, or don't see, these red arrows, is any real meaningful communication that's going on between these different professionals. And I don't just mean like the advisor reaches out to the CPA once or twice a year to talk about the tax ramifications of stocks he sold in his portfolio that year. That's not meaningful communication. What I mean by meaningful communication is, okay, all of these professionals find out that Chad, the client, or just one of them finds out that Chad's planning on selling the property next month. Let's say he's going to list it for $2.5 million. All of these professionals carve out an hour, they get on a Zoom and say, here's what's going on. How do we as Chad's team proactively make some moves to mitigate either capital gains tax, mitigate income tax, or to mitigate the risks of the sale of that type of asset. What does Chad actually want to do with the proceeds once the sale goes through? Like, there is no proactive communication going on to make sure that Chad, ultimately the client, is getting the best advice, not only post-sale, but also pre-sale. None of that's happening. It's just Chad sells, and then there's this noise and frenzy, and if they're good, they're giving decent advice, but it's all going through Chad, and it's very unleveraged. So this is actually not that attractive of a model to a client once the client actually understands there's a better model that exists, okay? So here's the same client. Let's say it's Chad. It's one of your high net worth, successful business owner clients, privately held business owner. And what we suggest is Chad designates a professional. Now, typically we would say it should be 2 professionals. We like the team concept, and the team should primarily be made up of a CPA and an advisor, whether that's a financial advisor, an insurance agent, whatever. We're just saying an advisor and a CPA. They form the best proactive planning team. That's what we like to refer to it as. So now Chad has designated these 2 professionals to be his point of contact, to communicate openly and consistently, to be meeting all the time to talk about proactively what should Chad be doing to really put him and his family in the best financial situation. The CPA and the advisor, of course, have their own area of expertise. Like they bring their own experience and knowledge set to the table, but there are plenty of things that are outside of their area of expertise. And the more successful clients you work with, the larger the percent of things should be outside of your area of expertise, right? That's just fair enough. There's way too much for any one professional or 2 professionals to know. I oftentimes relate it to sports. Like, you want to play baseball, soccer, and football, like, good, you can play that in junior high or high school. But once you start getting into the college level, very few people can do it, and the pros, it's pretty much impossible. It's pretty much impossible. So if you want to be playing at the highest level, then just focus on what you're really good at and passionate about, and then plug into, and I say a VFO here, which is a virtual family office. This essentially is just a large team that is coming together with the point of the team or the team captain for the client. So you have the CPA and the advisor, and then they are plugging into a virtual family office or a team of professionals that exist with open dialogue and communication. They're excited to work with one another. They're not competing for the dollar. What they're doing is they're bringing their skill sets to the table. So there's no throwing sand in the sandbox. We're coming together as a team. Who should be on this team? Well, there's primarily 5 categories or disciplines that we would suggest you have multiple professionals in your VFO, okay? So CPA and advisor plug into a VFO. On this virtual family office, you have professionals that mitigate risk. That could be life insurance, that could be property and casualty, that could be captive insurance companies. There's other types of strategies to mitigate risk. You have wealth management, right? That could be your investment accounts, your college savings accounts, your retirement accounts, etc. Wealth management, financial planning. You have law or legal services. This could be your wills, your trusts. What else? The entity, actually setting up the entities, the correct entities for the individual, doing the actual buy-sell drafting or agreements, those types of things. You have tax planning and tax compliance type of work or accounting services. So that's like the tax returns for the individual and for the corporation. But then you also proactively have typically tax attorneys or other types of niche specialists that are experts in mitigating the tax, understanding tax code and tax law well enough to know the code sections to mitigate the tax ramifications for these individuals. And then finally, you have business advisory services. You know, small business owners, the business is the baby. So we're looking at things like, what are your key performance indicators? Are they trending upwards or downwards? Why? Are we measuring them appropriately? What's your company culture? What are your leadership ceilings? Like, where are you tapping out on your leadership abilities? Where is this ultimately going? Are we selling it to the marketplace? Are we taking it public? Are we selling to an employee, etc.? So what you have when you have all of these individuals openly discussing a situation and bringing their ideas to the table, and then bringing those ideas collectively to the CPA and advisor, who are now kind of working through it, adding their own lens or their own perspective, their own insight to it, and then communicating with the client. Now all of a sudden you have incredible leverage. I mean, you have a bench which is much deeper than the average client is going to get on their own. You have incredible leverage and skill set, and you have better results for the client. Like, this is how you get sophisticated planning done, is you have open dialogue with professionals that know each other, trust each other, work together all of the time. This is how you get big, sophisticated planning done in a leveraged environment for successful clients. So this is what we call a proactive planning team, leveraging a virtual family office, or collectively it is a virtual family office experience for the client. So I think it's kind of cool. I'd love to hear what you think. You know, make a comment below if you would. Let me know. What, does this make sense? Is there anything in this video you would like me to focus on in more detail in a future video? Also, if you could give it a thumbs up if you like the video, do that for me. It helps with the YouTube algorithms. Let them know people actually like the content. And then last but not least, I try to come up with 1 or 2 videos like this a week, or sorry, a month. You know, just kind of free content, sharing with you what we've been doing that's working really well, or what our clients are doing. And if you like this type of content, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's totally free. You'll be notified when we post future videos, and I have tons of videos like this in the past, so feel free to go back and check those out. Again, Anthony Anderson, I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks.